Hi folks, it's Pastor Dave. Yet another video. We're going to talk about the idea of merit versus market. I identified as meritocracy and marketocracy. I mean, it's all just made up words. I mean, I've definitely seen meritocracy in print, so it's probably considered a real word. Marketocracy is just something I wanted to emphasize because I think there's a subtle difference between meritocracy and marketocracy. So I want to talk about that because it's relevant to my ministry, if you will. First, let's talk about the merit side of ocracy. This is success measured by merit, meaning you have some kind of talent, education, skill, that you create something, you invent something, you actually do something, or you have this craft and it's well recognized for, being like on the finest level. And, that's a nice idea that we have such a system that if you are talented, that you can be recognized for that talent, and then you can rise to a level of success. And it's more of a system based on what you know and what you can do, rather than the market, which is really success is measured by how many people you can attract or convince to pay money. And it's not really based on abilities or anything. If you're, like the presence of all of these influencers through, social media, it's not exactly talent. They just have opinions, and those opinions somehow become important to other people. And so you create this share of the market, and as a result, you may actually be rewarded with money. So that's where the measure comes from. Its market is based on money and your ability to secure a piece of the market. And the greater your piece of the market, the more significant you supposedly are. So the wealthier you are, that's really the system we live. I've seen many professors and sort of social science experts talk about our system being based on merit. And they talk about how such a system actually proves to be very inequitable. And I'm just taking it to the next level. Not only is it inequitable, because yes, people think that their wonderful success is purely based on their ability either to display or get recognized for their talents and skills, or to just get recognized and convince people to pay them money. So whether it's merit or money that determines success, it's still an inequitable system. I just want to make it clear that you can get or secure a piece of the market and have absolutely no talent at all. And I'm not trying to disparage the Kardashians, but therein lies such a typical example of how securing a market that they translate into money simply by just talking about their lives and letting people share their lives. I mean, they don't have any real abilities. They're just, a soap opera kind of presentation, and people like it. And so as a result, they get to be wealthy and successful and consider themselves more important than the rest of us. And I know that's the system we're given, and we all try to find our significance within those systems, be it based on merit or just your ability to corner the market. It still doesn't matter. Because of the inequity of it, those that have talent or those that know how to grab parts of the market, yes, they're well rewarded, but for the rest of us, we have to then feel like, well, geez, since we don't have any money or we're not recognized, we don't have any merit, we don't have any value, we don't have money to prove our worth. And that's a sad part. Because in either merit or market type style of systems, it's definitely hierarchical. And this sort of gradated determination of personal worth is a problem, because we can't really have a society where the few are rewarded and the rest are left to struggle. And I understand that a lot of conservative thinking revolves around this idea that, well, you deserve what you get. If you can get money, if you can be established by merit or whatever it is that you secure, you can feel good about yourself because you rose to that level. And not counting any of the factors that probably went in to secure your success outside of your own personal work. You know, you might have come from a wealthy family, like, I mean, Paris Hilton, for example. I mean, she's successful by nature of her association or connection to the Hilton family, which is associated with all of the hotels. So they're very wealthy. So it isn't that she brings any skill or talent, but because she comes from a wealthy person, or she is considered important because she is the daughter of a wealthy tycoon, that somehow her opinion is far more valued than anything else we may. Like me, I'm hoping that, because this is the system we live in, I know that my opinion is only going to be as valued as the number of people that I can attract. So, I mean, if you have 5 subscribers, like I do, nobody's going to consider your opinion worthwhile. But if for some market fluke or for whatever reason, I end up with 1 million viewers or 100,000 viewers, all of a sudden, my opinion has value, even though it's the same opinion. But it's entirely based on the market. And I think it's a destructive element to our society that we have to struggle with the idea of our worth based on our ability to either, well, secure some kind of recognition, which I think really is it isn't so much based on merit. I mean, I could be very talented and still not get recognized. And also I could be very untalented and yet still manage to be considered successful. You don't have any talent, but because you're mouthy and you have an opinionated sense of yourself, and you can get people to follow you, and you end up getting money, and you actually can establish yourself as a success, that's really not a good system, because so many people need to be assisted, and our vision of our society should be much more based on equality and freedom, and trying to make sure that everybody has their basic needs met. That's the loving, compassionate, Christian value perspective that I'm trying to share. And I'm just finding it rather interesting that when you live in a merit-based or market-based society, you don't really want to take care of other people. In fact, since your self-worth is based on your position in the hierarchy of financial success, then you really don't like. In fact, you end up resenting people who need things or who need to be cared for. Whatever the term is, if we were more compassionate, we would be less merit-based or market-based in our thinking. We would want everyone to enjoy a sense of equality and a sense of purpose in their life. And when we make things about measured success, and especially in terms of money, then too many people are not going to, well, feel worthwhile. We don't need to create a society. We can certainly reward those that have merit, but that should be with some humility. People who have success or who can corner a market should not feel that that they're somehow better than everybody else. And that's an important distinction, because if you're feeling that way, then your politics is going to be about denying other people. And if you really have any Christian values, you don't want it to be about denying other people. And that's why when you have a society based on, like, again, progressive ideas of, like the best example is always Medicare for all. If we have a system where everybody has access to healthcare, and it has nothing to do with your ability to carve out enough money for yourself to pay for a policy, it's far more equitable to have everybody at least have access to, in this case, healthcare. So Medicare for all is by far and away the best example of political progressive ideas that align with the Christian values of love and compassion and helping those in need. I mean, that's the whole purpose, and that's kind of what my whole purpose is for my channel. So I want us to recognize that, okay, it sounds like we live in a great society that rewards talent, but also recognize that those that have achieved such talent should recognize that it's also important to make sure that everybody at least has basic needs. Make sure they have proper health care, make sure they have good food, proper sheltering, just the basic needs. And if we can throw in education, then we could at least improve the chances that somebody can, in fact, use whatever skills they can bring to society and get recognition beyond just basic needs. So those of you that are successful should recognize that any of your success is probably at the benefit of others supporting you in some way. And it really has not, at least not entirely, based on just your ability or your only ability. And only you can recognize that. That's just not true. Anybody that has any success has to acknowledge that it came from being properly positioned in some kind of advantage, being a supported family, being it you just had better education, better resources, better supports from other people, any of the kind of things that you would attribute to your own success, you should recognize, well, I did have lots of help and a couple of, you know, if we want to just call good fortune as part of my success, that would at least indicate some kind of humility, which I'd appreciate. And yet you can still feel good about yourself because you can also do the additional good Christian thing to do, and that would be to make sure your politics recognize that society is not fair and it is not equitable, and that we really should try to be more equitable. And if we can create political policy that favors at least a sense to take care of everyone. So even the wealthiest should recognize that it is important that they provide all the basic needs for everyone so that we can raise up society even better. And those that have talent but don't have opportunity or enough support to advance themselves, we should at least take that bottom piece out, make sure all basic needs are met for everyone in our society. And I would go as far as saying everyone in the world. And then from there, that foundation where everyone at least has every of their basic needs taken care of, then they can rise up and perform whatever talents or share whatever talents and gifts and insights they have from that point of view. And that's really a better society. We certainly want to recognize people who have talent, but we also want to stop the arrogance that somehow anybody's success is of their own doing, and anyone who is not successful is because they're miserable failures. And that really does set up a real psychological problem, especially in our politics. Conservatives, Trump supporters who want to, for whatever reason, like the market-based system or merit-based system because they hope to take advantage of it, must also recognize that they're feeling pretty lousy about themselves. But the difference is, and perhaps, to the Republicans' credit, they recognize that people are not successful and they don't feel good about themselves because we live in a merit/market-based society, that it's better that these angry people that don't feel good about themselves can blame someone else for their failure. Because if all of us are left with the idea that our success is is based on our own abilities and nothing else, then if we don't achieve success, then it's obvious that, well, it must mean that we're miserable failures. That because we could not be successful, then we failed. And if we failed, that's not a good place to think about yourself. If you think of yourself as a failure, that's not good for you psychologically. And it's also not good for society. We don't want you to think of yourself as a failure. But since you cannot look beyond your desire to be one of the successful people, at least that's your fantasy, given the opportunity to either think badly about yourself for not succeeding or blaming someone else for your not succeeding, of course you're going to choose blaming someone else. And Republicans clearly know how to do it better than Democrats, and that Republicans will say, well, the reason why you feel like a failure is because of the Democrats. The Democrats are causing the misery in your life, which actually goes against the whole meritocracy philosophy that you and you alone are the determinant for your own success. And if it's only up to you, then you can't really blame anyone else. But if you are, at least by definition of a merit-based society or market-based society, which is more accurate, then you're left with the only option, and that is to feel miserable about yourself. Unless you start to embrace progressive ideas and Christian values, where it's important that we stop thinking like that, and that we in fact bring our values forward so that we can ensure everyone at least has their basic needs met. And that will give you purpose in life far better than the amount of money that you can secure. So don't define yourself based on money, because that's really our market share. Base it based on your desire to help, to be a part of the answer to help others. Not to others succeed, but to others to live healthy lives, to secure basic health care, to secure basic food, shelter, ability, clean drinking water. Those are the kind of things that we should ensure, and opportunity for education. If you can just secure that much, then we have a pretty good society. And from there, you can then just build a society out of respect for others and for the recognition that we really do need to help each other. And if any success is achieved, it is achieved through the lifting up of all of us and not just whatever we press forward and achieve on our own. Because even though you like to think, or our ego likes to think that, it's everything about me is about me, and my success is only about me and my ability, well, that's just not the way it is. Whatever success you have, some of the credit, and I would say most of the credit, has to go to others, not yourself. Somebody else lifted you up. And that's what the basis of progressive politics is about, is that we want people to be successful. That's not what it's not like we're anti-capitalist or anti-success. We're not. We want people to have success. But we want to recognize that the success of everyone is dependent on everyone else lifting each other up. And that is a good message. It's not only good progressive politics, but it's also good Christian value-based politics. You should feel good about thinking that way in terms of politics. We want to lift everybody up because everybody else's raised up success is going to equate with all of our success. And that's really a society we want to live in. This whole, if I have enough money, I can, feel good about myself. And those that don't have enough money, well, they don't get to feel good about themselves. You don't want to have a society like that, especially if you consider yourself a Christian. A Christian value-based society would definitely want to lift everyone up. So we at least provide or make sure everyone has basic needs met, which I also include education in that. So medical care, food, water, shelter, and education. That's what I had to say. So please try to change your political thinking so that it aligns with your Christian values, because you do want to help other people, because it's good for you to forgive and love, because in the end, it means a better, more peaceful world. And that's what you should want to achieve. Raise everyone up, love everyone up, help each other, and we can live in a more peaceful world, in a more successful world. All right, thank you, everyone. I appreciate your time. Do the usual like, share, and of course, subscribe. I'm desperate to get this out there. So I'm only going to be successful based on your help. And here's a perfect example that my success is not based on me. It's going to be based on other people raising me up. And that's a very, progressive-minded, Christian value-based minded thinking. So thank you and have a wonderful day.